Welcome, welcome
Hello.
to Adam and Kate plus Josh. Welcome,
And
Josh.
some hate.
Hello, hello, hello. Hello. Really messed up the naming convention there, didn't I?
No, you good.
No, I think it works perfectly. It, it's
I mean,
our
I can be real
dumbass.
hateful if you want me to. We can stick
I
with the hate.
It'll be coming, don't worry.
our hate for this episode.
Let me bring my friend on and shit on him for the next hour.
And another thing I don't like about this dude. It's like, I'm
promo,
right
promo.
Hey guys, hey guys. I'm trying out my new material on you, Josh. Here's why you suck.
Adam has a half hour on why he doesn't like you, and this is how you find out.
It's gonna be on
I'm gonna be
Tuesday.
browsing reels one day. Oh shit. I'm gonna be browsing reels one day, and instead of getting some shitty comedian, I'm gonna get Adam, and it's like, let me tell you about this guy, Josh. I'm like, God damn. Oh, all right.
I could still be a shitty comic. You don't know.
That's the thing that finally takes off.
This is what makes me famous. Fuck. All this art that I've been working on means nothing.
No.
Oh,
But
Lord.
thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
This will be
man.
fun.
Yeah.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, no, thank you. My name is Josh. Everybody calls me JX. It's my initials. Technically, my initials are JE. This is the story. Not everyone knows about those initials, but my last name is has an X in it. And I when I worked in radio back in the day before it was digital, and I had to do all these carts for commercials and stuff. Everybody, didn't matter who it was, you always had to put your initials on it so that at a glance they'd know who assembled this commercial. And I thought JE was just, which is my actual initials, was boring. So I started writing JX on everything. And then I started signing up for all these message boards back in the late 90s and early 2000s, and I just started using JX304 as that. So that's how that came about. But no, I'm from West Virginia, and from the great state of West by God, Virginia. I have a band you've heard these guys talk about before, Common Ground or Common Ground 304. We're like Haywire.
Yeah.
Actually, technically, Haywire is Haywire 617 because there's another band named Haywire, but they still go by Haywire. We're like that, Common Ground 304, because there's shockingly a bunch of bands called Common Ground.
Makes sense.
So this is how we do that, and then just on the show flyers, we're Common Ground. So that's like the 5-second intro. Happy to be here. I'm sure we're going to get into a lot of fun stuff today.
Yep.
That is the hope.
Fingers crossed.
Cool. Well, I think I want to start things off. Adam, you got some records in the mail you wanted to talk about.
Yes, mail time. So, because this whole thing started over a band's discography. I've been buying records for a long time, and we just started doing mail day. I think first episode in, and because I only need happiness through consumerism, I bought into finally the Run for Covers Magic Circle, so I can get the rarest new mirrors and Portrayal of Guilt. But I also got the newest Basement records called Wired, because of this cool little red Obi side thing. It's number 127 out of whatever it's supposed to be. I can't read it. And I've never heard Basement until then, but it was the only way I could get the rarest of the other two records. So I've been kind of listening to it a little bit, but this is what it looks like. It's this cool red lava ghostly thing that's been going on for a while. Um, Impressed. I actually really liked them. I don't have any other band to really post-hardcore. Would you call them post-hardcore, like hardcore adjacent?
Yeah, they occupy a similar space, I think, as like Citizen and those like adjacent run for cover bands. Basement is so Fiddlehead is Pat Flynn of Have Heart plus Basement. Wasn't sure if you knew that or not.
No, I had no idea.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so they've been around for a minute. This new record fucking rules. I was listening to it yesterday. It came out this past Friday. Um, yeah, if you like stuff in that adjacent world, definitely give it a listen. Not really sure what else to say about it, but
Josh, are you
it's
into
good.
are you into Basement? Do you have any familiarity with like Basement or Citizen or anything?
No, I mean, no, have heart. Oh, that's but no, no basement. It's out of my bailiwick.
Are
All
you
right,
familiar with
first off,
Fiddlehead?
Oh yeah, I love Fiddlehead. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, so
it's a
Fiddlehead
bailiwick.
is just
Sorry, I bring in the big words to the show today.
Was it
I mean,
was it ready for
I can lean into the West. Man, that's outside of my that's outside of what I know about, boy. Sorry, I won't be using the big words no more. I'll lean into the West Virginia, by God.
if I have to start doing lines of Oxycontin to prove how West Virginian I am, I will do it on camera.
please don't.
These days it'd be fit.
I can lean good.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Fenton Trank.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Fent Frank, good grindcore band name. Anyways, Run for Cover Records has an awesome record subscription that you can get good records in the rarest of vinyl, so of the variants. So check it out. Whatever they got coming up, I'm sure if you like the more aggressive side or the adjacent side, they put out one of my favorite AFI records last year. So big fan of Run for Cover, and Self Defense is on there. So hopefully we'll get that. My other big piece of mail years ago, I actually got the CD demo of this because I was street teaming for Victory. And recently, the homies at Tarnished Records, who have put out some really cool stuff, uh, I got the Dead to Fall demo finally on vinyl, no longer on CDR. They can get rotten. This is the Like a Bullet variant, and this is the basically ghostly clear with some splatter black and blue out of 100. The audio is very good on it. um, Dead to Fall just kind of recently started playing shows again. It more like Furnace Fest and some one-offs, and it's nice seeing them back because I feel that they were a band that like they were a band's band for a long time, and I feel that they should have gotten much bigger. They should have been on the same level as like Darkest Hour as far as their overall exposure, and they should have gotten more fans. And they were one of the first bands to do like that very specific kind of metalcore outside of, at least for me, North South Carolina. And the promo for the one sheet I got for them when Victory sent me the first record, Everything I Touch Falls to Pieces, it was how what do you do to end another breakdown? You put another breakdown after that, and then another one. And it was just this dumb, it's very goofy thing, but they went from being a very self-serious band to a very fun band with some messaging. But Dead to Fall, I genuinely love that band. I got to see them a handful of times, and I went hard.
Nice.
Hard.
I feel like they
I
played
got to see
here a
that
few
band
times.
once. They were main support for Shy Halud. Um, back when my buddy was in that band. So they were cool. That's
I feel like they played West Virginia back in the day at least a couple times.
They did.
I'm sure
They
I was
did.
at
They
one of the
played.
shows. Yeah.
Were you at the River Valley Riot? That I think Joe Klug might have had a hand in put. It was like Scarlet, Dead to Fall, Between the Buried and Me, Remembering Never. Fuck, I forget who else was there, but like that was a big Darkest Hour. Um, that was a big. It was on Mother's Day in fucking Huntington, and I went down there with a homie. That was one of the shows they played.
I
Were you at that?
I would say I'm trying to remember. I drank a lot in my 20s, so some of my memories are a little wonky. But I want to say I was, and because if Joe Klug had a hand in it, there's a better than average chance I was there because me and Joe we go way back. Fun fact: Joe was a groomsman in my wedding, my ill-fated wedding.
Shout out
Yeah.
Joe Clue.
Hey, I can actually participate in mail day too. I wasn't prepared for this, but I just looked around. I was like, I got a couple things I can participate with on this.
Please.
One of them is actually right back there over my shoulder. I got a stack of hats back there, but it's about the second hat down, so it's hidden. But I didn't feel like getting up to get it. It's an Atlanta Braves hat where they do the new City Connect jerseys, and they're this baby blue, and then they on the sleeve of those have ATL, but it's made to look like the old Superstation TBS logo. So instead of saying TBS, it says ATL on the sleeve. They did a
Oh, that's
hat
cool.
version of that. So I've got the hat with the ATL TBS logo. 605 on the Superstation, baby. But that's back there. And then I recently got this. It's the Apocalypse Now 4K 6-disc set that has Apocalypse Now, Now Redo, Hearts of Darkness on it, 6 discs, all kinds of stuff. This thing is sold out everywhere. I got lucky and found it on eBay for retail. I was shocked because this thing's reselling for a ton, but I found it for around retail. And I looked down and I saw this. I was like, I did recently get this, and I know Adam can appreciate it. It's the CD re-release of Heart Scarved on Tribunal Records. This is And Tomorrow We Escape. This was one of those kind of North Carolina metalcore albums that at that era, like, oh, the original CD version of this, I just wore out, listened to it all the time, played it on my college radio show, all that stuff. Matty T just recently put these out, re-released these. He's been on a run lately, Adam. I don't know if you've seen this, where he's been, re-releasing on CD a lot of that classic Tribunal era stuff, like that Heart Scarved and Swift, and he's got something up now for Prayer for Cleansing. He's on a hell of a heater right now, releasing this stuff, and not on vinyl, so that he doesn't have to sell them for $60 a pop.
Sure.
So that's my little quick contribution to that.
Awesome.
It's nice seeing the Carolina bands get re-released. Like that was a your 20s, my 20s, big. Like I said, I'm very blessed to have been where I've been locally in my 20s because I had Undying Prayer, Stretch, Code 7, Hopes Fall, Heart Scarved, Tried and True, Zazel, Aria. Like every band from that era, it became like such a big deal after the fact that it's nice being like, oh, I got to, they were my locals. I got to see them a bunch. So it's very cool that like the kids now are getting into stuff that, as unked out as I am and chopped as I am, I can be like, I remember that band, and like it's time to go to bed. But
I'll show up to a show here locally, and it'll be like 60% kids who are my son's age, so between the ages of 17 and 22 or whatever. And I'll show up wearing one of the 6 different Kill Whitney Dead shirts that Matt Tribunal re-released over the last couple years, and those kids will know who that is and be like, dude, I love that band. I'm like, this shirt, the logo on this shirt is older than you. How do you know this? You don't listen to this band. What do you know about this band?
TikTok, TikTok, it's all TikTok. X
Oh
TikTok
yeah.
or X.
I'm shocked Kill
I
Whitney Dead could catch on with that generation. It's a little, there's some themes there that don't really play well in 2026.
Very deathcore themed.
Mm-hmm.
Was this like was this the frat core band? It was like
No,
No.
I wouldn't say. I think
it
that's
wasn't
more
like full on Fight Paris, but was on its way there.
yeah, somewhere between Fight Paris and like Thy Art is Thy Art is Murder. Somewhere between there with nothing but like breakdowns and samples, which was the wildest thing. It was 10 seconds of music, 30 seconds of samples, 45 seconds of music, 3 seconds of samples. There's a song. And then make 20 albums.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and if I remember the story correctly, they started out as a joke band, and like they released the original CD was it Inhaling the Breath of a Bullet, I think was the name of it, and then the first song is was it if it ain't Johnny Cash, it ain't country or something like that, and it's 60 seconds long, and 35 seconds of it is a sample. So it's like grindy, whatever. But then there was never any intention to like actually play out. It was just, hey, grindcore is easy to do, so let's do it. And they made this record, and it blew up. Like I was told.
Oh, this record just has tits on it.
Oh,
They're
that's
covered in blood.
yeah, that's never good enough for you. I think that was the second record. The the story I was told was they went to Hellfest. Tribunal Records went to Hellfest in the early 2000s. I forget which year it was, and they had this merch table set up with all this stuff, and like all the Kill Whitney Dead stuff sold out instantly, you know. And so that kind of like made them realize like, hey, there's a market for this. And so another record was recorded, and then eventually they did play some shows. But the joke was like they could never play shows because it was like, oh, we were on our way to the show and the van broke down, and then the singer got arrested and he's in jail now, you know. And it listed the mailing address as like some fake address in Flagstaff, Arizona. It was a whole early 2000s, late 90s mind fuck, really, and it became a real thing. So
Yeah, the Schrodinger's Irony Band.
mm, yeah, right. But I know Matt Tribunal. I've known him a long time, and he's a good dude, and he does good work with that Tribunal Records, and he's put out a lot of great stuff. You know, Adam, you mentioned Scarlet a minute ago. I'll never forget it. They played a show here in technically St. Albans, but it's Charleston, a place called the Brick House. It was right after like they were going to release a record through Tribunal, and then they kind of screwed them over and took the record somewhere else.
I remember that.
Yeah, so I was working at a record store down in the southern part of the state at the time, and I remember with a money order through the mail, I ordered a Tribunal Records logo shirt that had a logo about as big as this band logo on my shirt, and it just very clearly said Tribunal Records. And I went to that Scarlet show because my friend Dana booked it, and it was, you know, so it was the homies. You know, I was surrounded by the homies basically, and I went to the show, and I just stood in front like this the whole time. Never showed any emotion, never nothing. Just staring him down like, mm-hmm. At some point, the vocalist, you know, is doing his thing because he's on that Jacob Bannon running around screaming and shit. And at some point,
John Spencer, right?
Yeah.
Went on to be in Spitfire.
Oh yeah. Keep in mind, I am 6'4", and I am built like a defensive lineman. And this guy who was like probably up to here on me comes up at one point and grabs me by the shirt. And he's screaming vocals I can't understand into my face, and I'm just standing there looking down at him like, mm-hmm. Go off, King. All good. And then he fucks off and does whatever. But you know, sorry. Every time I hear the name Scarlet, I think of that incident and I think of that show, and it makes me laugh.
Did they have the light show where it would flash their band name and the lights would go off? Okay. That might have been the River Valley Riot show. You said the Brick House. I think that's where it was. I feel like I'll have to look it up.
But I mean, I know I saw that one. I don't remember who else played that show, but I remember like I went out of my way to go to that show because it was on like, I want to say, I don't think it was a weekend show. And at the time I was living in Southern West Virginia after I dropped out of college at that time, and working at this record store and sleeping on my fraternity brother's couch, and I went out of my way to drive like an hour and a half to go to that show specifically for that. You know, like,
specifically to intimidate Scarlet.
I wasn't trying to intimidate him. Honestly, like it was more just you know, reminding them, hey, you screwed over my friends. You know,
mm-hmm.
Fuck you, you screwed over my friends. I don't play that. So
the
Well, I was also in my 20s. Me now, I'll be 49 in a couple of days. Me now at 49, I'll just be like, yeah, these guys are assholes, and I'm just going to hang out here in the back of the room. So, whatever, I don't care.
I feel like I really enjoy some of that Scarlet and Spitfire material. But there was a similar thing with the Spitfire put out a record on Goodfellow, and there was a
Uh, yeah, that's right.
um, Cult Fiction, and there was a ton of press around it. Like they dumped a lot of money into this promotional thing, and then they never toured on it, and like never did shit on it.
Well,
And I remember talking with when I was touring, roading for that band, we um, a hand a handful of dudes from the Handshake Murders came to one of the shows, and we were chatting with them because they were a good fellow band for a minute, and they were just like beside themselves, like, yo, the label put all this money into Spitfire, and they're not doing anything, and like now we're trying to do something next, and like there's just like what are we can't do anything. Uh,
there's no
the label's
budget.
in the hole because of the Spitfire thing. Yep.
Um, Cult.
Um,
Oops.
So Cult
and
Fiction
Handshake
became
Murders broke
Cult
up not
Classic.
long after that.
Was it Cult Fiction became Cult Classic for Scarlet? So that was another thing
Which was
because
the
they're
record that was supposed to go to
yep.
Tribunal. Cult Classic was the record that was supposed to be on Tribunal. Yeah, that's right. So when you said Cult Fiction, I was kind of raised an eyebrow for it. I was like, wait a minute, that
I
sounds
think
vaguely
Cult.
familiar.
I think Cult Classic came out first.
Yep, it came out
It
on
may, all
Let
Ferret.
me
right, well,
look.
I know Cult Classic. I do know. Yeah, Cult Classic was supposed to be a Tribunal thing, and then it ended up going to that whole thing happened, and it went to Ferret. Yeah, that is true. That was yeah.
And then a couple. I'll look. But
While you're
yeah,
doing that, I'm gonna give a quick shout out to Chris Logan of Goodfellow for being a real good homie to me back in the day and to this day. Goodfellow Records. Some of your favorite bands came from there, and some of your favorite bands that just did not get the recognition that they should have gotten were on that label. Were they were ahead of their time, and I will always champion Goodfellow Records no matter what.
Yeah, we
So
had a
shout out
number
Chris.
of good fellow bands come through West Virginia back in the day, and there was one guarantee: it was always going to be loud as hell. It doesn't matter if you were playing in a YMCA or a basement or it was going to be loud as hell, and that was always fun. So I'll back that shout out.
Scarlet put out Cult Classic in 2004. Spitfire put out Cult Fiction in 2008.
Yep, and then Mind Over Matter Records. Shout out Austin. He put it out on vinyl. So I bought that from him. So another good label that people buy from Mind Over Matter Records, buy from my homie Austin, buy his shit. Good dude. Solid human being. I love him to death. I'll send him this to let him know that I'm doing promo. See, Josh, promo doesn't end just for you. We promo everyone.
That's true. That's true. Promo never stops, Bubba. Never stops.
um. So next up, I believe. So I assigned Adam. So Josh, you may or may not be aware, we give each other homework assignments every week, bands to check out that are in a blind spot for us, and
Okay.
then report back. So this week, Adam has "Me Without You."
Okay.
So I'll try to remember album titles. I guarantee you I won't. Uh, so
I remember
every
all of them, so don't
okay,
worry.
good. So A and B was the first one.
Yep, A to B. So in order: A to B equals life, Catch for Us the Foxes, Brother Sister, It's All Crazy, 10 Stories, Pale Horses, Untitled.
And don't forget Pale Horse Appendix, which was the most pretentious and funniest goddamn thing I think they could have done to release a record. It's like adding footnotes
Yeah,
to a
and
haiku.
then
You know what I mean?
10 Stories had an appendix called like 2 Stories, I think.
That is very funny. That is the most Philadelphian trolling that a band has done outside of throwing yogurt and meat and Earth Crisis. Shout out Ink and Dagger forever. Uh, all right, so Be Without You. First three records. Uh, especially the first two, very heavy Ink and Dagger vibes. It's almost as if they all were homies and started around the same time. And like Ink and Dagger's like, we're into vampires, and Me Without You is like, we're into feelings. So they went on that front.
The feelings.
They went in that
Yeah.
direction. And like First Street Records really are good post hardcore with just like a little bit of the more fringe element from the like the weirder part of Philly hardcore, which Philly has a lot of weird fucking hardcore bands, and I think that's I'm excited to go into a deep dive with you about that one of these days. But those first three records really hit me more, and then the fourth through up into the live records, to me it comes off as a mixture of the previous stuff, but then you're getting into like a murder by death kind of category for a lot of the like the orchestration, some of the way it was put together made me think of murder by death, and then like you could say cursive or really anything on Saddle Creek at that time, and I feel like those last few
Hmm.
records would have if they were on Saddle Creek, and I did not know that, and I just said it, then I'm predicting things, but they sound like they would have fit perfectly on Saddle Creek, and I don't know how big they got, but I see their shirts pretty much at every show. The sound guy at Radio Room, Logan, shout out Logan, Radio Room, where I'll be there tonight working again. He has like three Me Without You shirts. He's been trying to sell me on them for like a couple of years. And this was my homework, and I get to tell him about it, and we're gonna nerd out about it. So, but I really liked it. I'll take the first three records over the last ones, but the Me Without You, very cool. I will no longer confuse him with Me and Him Call It Us. So that's not going to happen ever again. And
Very, very different bands.
very, very different. But no, that was a very cool assignment. And I did this while revisiting a couple other things that like I just forgot to listen to for years. So I went back and listened to Defeater from our previous conversation that we had about Defeater. I don't remember if that was on air or off air. And then I went back through the Pulling Teeth discography as well. But the mixture of those three bands was pretty much what I listened to last week. But each one was unique, so I could like stay focused on like, all right, we're gonna do this. I did Me Without You first three records in a day, and I finished up by the end of the week. But the Defeater conversation made me go back and listen to that, and for whatever reason, like I can listen to Pulling Teeth, and I went back to the Pulling Teeth discography. But Me Without You, like it's a band I will definitely revisit. Um, the later material I may not revisit as much, but those first three records I'm going to actively seek those out in some capacity. So very cool assignment. So I appreciate the hell out of it.
Yeah. They their stuff on vinyl gets put out like kind of intermittently. They'll do big drops. It's it's mostly self-released, I think, at this point. My friend Scott, who does Burnt Toast Vinyl, will help out with some of that. But yeah, um, so hopefully you can track some of that stuff down on physical. Um, they occupy like your favorite band status for a long time. So I don't know how like truly big they got, but yeah, I know for their final two shows they sold out a pretty big venue here in Philly 2 nights in a row. So
I have no input because, like, Adam said it was a blind spot for him. This is one of those bands that, I've heard of. I'm sure I've heard before,
mhm,
listened to a part of a playlist or something, and
sure.
I just don't know. I mean, there's a lot of bands I can say that about because my musical palette is so broad. I think
Mhm.
Kate, you've definitely figured this out over I think the conversations we had leading up to this recording today. Just when I can go from this to this and back to this and over to this and over to here, I end up developing a lot of blind spots, especially in hardcore. So like Pulling Teeth, I've never really listened to. Know who they are? Never really listened to. Me Without You, same thing.
Yeah.
Uh,
Uh I th- Makes total sense. I'm very much the same way where it's like my music taste is kind of all over the place too, so it just means that like I'm not going super deep on every subgenre.
yeah, yeah.
But uh, Me Without You, I think worth a listen. They got lumped in. They were on Tooth and Nail Records for a while, and then they their last few records were put out on Run for Cover. Um, they got lumped in with, yeah. They got lumped in with the Christian stuff. But the they kind of came from a like the lead singer grew up with a Jewish father and a Muslim mother, um, and so like very like faith was a big part of it, but wasn't they weren't really like they weren't really on the like the for today side of Christian music. You know what I mean? Um,
Or under
Early
oath.
Zayo.
yeah. Um, they were always very much in their own lane, and then I know some of like the circles that they run in. They've ran in here in Philly, and like as far as like the Christians go, they were this of the sort that you want Christians to be, which is like you know selling all you have and giving to the poor type. Uh, Not the condemning people for being gay and getting abortions type.
Hypocritical assholes. Right, right, right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So yeah, definitely a cool band worth checking out. It's hard to say what they sound like because they sound like themselves. Other bands kind of get compared to them, but it's hard to compare them to other bands if that makes sense.
Yeah,
It does.
yeah.
I During the course of our conversation, you said something. It struck a nerve for your homework assignment this week.
Please,
And uh, how familiar are you with Europe?
I lived there for a while.
What's
Okay.
the final countdown?
how how familiar are you with Euro hardcore? I hate you, Josh.
My mind went to the exact same place. I'm like, one of us
Hate you
is
too,
gonna say it.
Kate.
We're gonna queue up Brian Danielson Ring of Honor matches and listen to the final countdown. Let's go.
When I lived, when I lived in Austria, there was for whatever reason, um, I could more or less guarantee that if I turned on the radio, I could find that song playing on a station. I don't know why that is, but it was
I'm old
pretty
enough to
common. I was just,
remember when you could turn on the radio here and hear that song playing on a station. So
Uh, I'm not super familiar with a lot of Euro hardcore bands. My favorite one is probably Rise and Fall, but
All right.
I
So
also really like Oathbreaker.
So I'm glad you said that because we're going back to the well of Death Wish for this band, and we're going to jolly old England for a band that has played the U.S. one time, and I happened to be there. They put out one record on Death Wish. I'm talking about Rot in Hell.
okay,
I Absolute blind spot for me.
All right,
Don't know this band.
all right. So that
Adam is
was
so proud. He's so proud of this when I can see it. His
I
internet's
am.
pixelated, but I can see it.
so Rotten Hell, they are what I would call Euro integrity. Like if you wanted, they're England's
You're
integrity. Yeah, if you, it is the best integrity
Vocal
word.
test, isn't it?
Humanity's the devil.
Cockney vocal
Brilliant.
test.
Systems overload, chap. All right. um, there was a point in we'll say the MySpace era where like deathcore got big, and I ended up finding this band purely on accident, and I saw the little process chart symbol. I was like, oh, well, I might be into this. This is like when they creep out and like Integrity started making their comeback with like To Die For and stuff. They had the singles on A389. They ended up putting out a bunch of stuff through I think there some smaller labels, and I think Grot Records, I believe, was theirs. The hype got so big they ended up getting on Death Wish for this one record, but they weren't a big touring band. But they played the first A389 fest that I went to back in 20. I can't see the posters behind the door, but the same one that Haymaker played, Pale Creation, Integrity was the headliner, Seraph, Seven Sisters Asleep, ew, for later, and Bad Things. And I was so blown away by Rotten Hell that I just stayed connected to them. But
Okay.
when you listen to it, you're gonna go, oh, I get why he says Euro integrity, Euro integrity, and then they switch it up and they go to neo folk, and then they come back to the original sound. So a really nice mix of stuff. I think Organized Crime put out a lot of their compilation, and I think their first American release of Hallways of the Always, which was their first LP, but came a little later than the one on Death Wish. But Rotten Hell, it's aggressive.
I'm stoked. This will be fun. I've been wanting to listen to some darker, weird stuff recently, so this will
I
be a
had to get
blast.
to my Spotify search history just so I can, even though I don't have to do the homework assignment. You got me curious too, because I've heard that name before, but I've never checked them out. So again, blind spot. Yep,
I've
there they are,
definitely
rocking
listened
out.
to this band before because do you remember when Deathwish would put out like samplers?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah,
So I have two. I have the same song twice, uh, from two different Deathwish samplers, in my iTunes library. But word,
They never really got big, but another thing about Rotten Hell that I want to give a quick shout out to, they put together some of the most unique merch packages for weird single releases that I've ever seen. When they played in Baltimore at Sonar for the A389 Fest, they put out a lathe cut 7-inch that they hand stitched a bag to cover it, and they put that bag in a balaclava. They did a lot of
hard.
weird lathe cuts. They did a lathe cut on X-rays. um they did a weird like twine, yeah, it's a box that was held together with twine. They spray painted everything. They did like hand cutouts for like the symbols for the Cult of Kali box set. I have the Future Strike box set, which is a bunch of the 7 inches in an ammo box that I bought years later after the United States wouldn't let me have my first one, because apparently you can't have a live AK-47 round sealed up and when sent to you. It's just the one. It's just the one. It's like a one-time use round. So I don't know why I couldn't have it. I think I should be allowed to have those things.
there's a lot to process in that little rant of yours there. You hit that right pronunciation a little too. What's the word I'm looking for?
There was a
Correctly,
little bit too much in there.
little for someone of your heritage, Adam. I don't know. And
German
yeah.
Jew. German Jew. I have a weird relationship with lists and trains. I'm a German Jew.
Oh, I'm not going there. I'm just letting it go. My band's just
Did
getting
something?
started. I'm not trying to get canceled because I took a joke that was made. I made a joke and it was taken out of context.
Did something happen or?
They don't really talk about it over there in Germany these days. They
For
like to,
weird, they got some weird facial hair configurations. I never understood why they didn't stay popular.
brother. One mistake with your razor, and you're close to that on either side.
I'm allowed to say
Oh, yes,
it.
you are. Yes, you are.
All right.
Oh man.
Homework has been given.
Hell yeah.
You will listen to Rotten Hell, and you will enjoy
What was that? Remember early Family Guy back before it got like atrociously bad?
when
The
Seth MacFarlane still was actually writing and doing stuff
mm-hmm.
other than voice work. Yeah,
Yeah, the that whole bit where they're in Germany. It's like,
nothing
what are you?
happened. We were all on
Yeah.
vacation.
It's like
I think of
that's
that one also.
yeah.
Yeah.
You guys invaded Poland. We were invited. Punch was served. Check with Poland.
Nothing happened.
As a no, uh,
Everything's
it's
cool in
funny.
America right now.
Everything's fine.
Yeah,
No,
it's great.
we're yeah.
Great.
We're
Thanks,
spending
everyone.
$7 million
Techno-Fascist
to.
hellscape.
We're spending $7 million to paint a thing blue. For some fucking reason. It's good.
Reasons. It's fine. Fine. This is totally normal. This is totally, One week the a television show on a streaming service that has a villain with a god complex debuts a golden statue of himself at the church he created in his own name, and 3 days later a sitting president does the exact same thing, only at a golf course that he owns, because he didn't put it in a blind trust when he took office like any other president in history would have done. Totally normal stuff. We're fine, no problems at all.
Thanks, Harambe.
Yeah.
Yeah, this all tracks back to the death of Harambe. Yeah. Well, that
Dicks
actually,
out.
I have a friend. I have a friend who like when we have these discussions in that same tone says, "I blame CERN. I blame things ain't been right since CERN." I was like, and I tell him, I'm like, it's the combo of Hammurabi and CERN. Those two things just threw the whole thing off, man. We branched off from the sacred timeline, and we're, please God, let's have an incursion, please. Please, Loki, grant us with an incursion. Victor, save us.
I could go for Ragnarok.
Listen,
At this point, so could I.
there's a reason why we have two guns in every room in this house. I'm ready. I'm not stoked, but I'm ready.
I live on the side of a hill. I've got sight lines in the high ground. So,
See, you get it.
the only way you can attack me is from the rear, and I can see it from out this window. You'd have to come down a hill at an angle like this, and between all the dead tree branches and leaves, I'd hear you coming anyway. So,
Don't
good
give them
luck.
tactics. Don't give them tactics. Someone's going to be like, oh, now I figured it out. So it's just like Call of Duty.
Yeah, the AR-15 on the other end of the house has other ideas.
Uh,
This
so
idea that the left or Democrats or whatever are anti-gun. Good luck with that.
no, I tell people, like I personally am not into guns. It's a whole long story, but people
Sure.
are like the left doesn't like. It's like, dude, you go far enough. Like, no, those are Democrats. Those are fucking like feckless centrists. You go actually far enough left, you get your guns back.
Yeah.
True. It's
They're all
true.
handcrafted. You get them from a vegan bike shop, but you do get your guns back.
Yep. Yep. I make no mistake. I'm somewhere on that spectrum there, and I'm the person who of that is of that opinion that a lot of people on this side of the fence have, that the Second Amendment is the most misinterpreted amendment in the whole damn Constitution. But that doesn't mean I'm going to tell you, regardless of your politics, you can't have a gun if you want it. I think we need to do something to keep them out of schools, because, I'm a father of a now soon to be 19-year-old who literally yesterday finished his first year of college. And from the time he was in elementary school, when, God, my brain just shut down. The one in Connecticut that got Alex Jones.
Sandy Hook.
Yeah,
That's my
Sandy Hook.
hometown.
Okay, so my son was in elementary school when Sandy Hook happened, like early in elementary school, and and then he graduated high school last year. So for close to however many years it was, I can't, math is hard. There's a reason I talk for a living.
It was.
But
I have a memorial tattoo on my hand.
okay,
It was
okay.
2012.
So for 13 years, thank you, Kate. For 13 years, every day, there's that voice in the back of your head that you have to ignore. Is this the day somebody shows up at my
Yep.
son's school?
Yeah.
And to put it bluntly, we are fucked as a country if me as a parent, if I have to have that mentality, and there's nothing right, there's nothing good about it, and we'll come up with every other possible solution we can except
Hmm.
addressing the
Well,
thing.
it's not a gun problem. It's a mental health care problem. Okay, cool. Can we do something for mental health? No, fuck you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
All
living
right.
where living where I live now in South Carolina. It's funny you mentioned that the gun issue. Like, I joke about having two guns in every room, which is true. Thanks, Dad. Paranoia. But down here, I don't know how often you hear it, but I've walked into gun stores hearing people say, "I'll fucking kill a Democrat." Weirdly out of context. There's Trump $100 bills. Like, stapled on glass, put on glass around the cases, and like it's you walk in there, it's not all of them are like that. But there's a lot of them, but I've had fun with them by asking them like, hey, which one is best for stopping power capacity, and then I'll ask them which one is best by mouthfeel. They will not sell it to me. Little things for Adam, little things for me.
Which one has the best mouthfeel?
Wow. Oh man.
Long-standing joke long-standing joke I've been using for a while, but I like to put it in casual conversation because of the deliveries. So, oh, which one? Oh,
A little strong for my taste. Anything smoother? A smooth bore?
will this chip a tooth?
I don't have that problem. At least up here, anyway. Cancer sucks, yo.
Jesus.
Well, this totally derailed this episode, didn't we?
Promo never stops,
bit.
Josh. Promo never stops.
Hey, Josh, do you want to talk about your band?
Yes, that's a great way to bring us back to the sacred timeline there, Kate. Thank you.
Speaking of gun violence and suicide, hardcore.
Yes. What a great transition.
Because none of us got into hardcore because we're well-adjusted individuals.
Not even remotely. Yeah, no, I can talk about the band. I can talk about West Virginia hardcore. I can talk about hardcore in general. So, you want me to just start monologuing, or do you want to? You had an idea on how to kick it off?
So you started a band called Common Ground. You put out a demo a couple of months ago. We talked about it here on the show. It's fucking sick. Everyone should go to Bandcamp and listen to that. But you got shows coming up. You got more material coming out. What's going on?
Well, we actually, as we're recording this episode, we do have a show lined up in a couple weeks up in Morgantown, a town Adam knows really well. Home of the West Virginia Mountaineers. That's right. Home of the West Virginia Mountaineers, the West Virginia University. My sister lives there. Got that show. It's a basement show. And I was joking with the guys at our first show, which was at West Virginia Punk Rock Flea Market earlier this year. And, we were most of us were there all day, and we were all there to see this big crowd coming and going, because it was this huge event with like 80 some odd vendors and like 12 total bands. And, you see these crowds coming and going and swelling and whatever. So it's big crowd, big, nice PA, big stage, whatever. And I remember joking with the guys before we went on stage. I was like, fellas, it's all downhill from here, because this is like the biggest crowd we'll probably ever play in front of. And I know the attendance numbers. I know how many people paid that day. I can't talk about them, but I was blown away that it drew the way it drew. And, the crowd, we played at 6 o'clock that day, which was the perfect time slot. Like, we had people, it was that time of the evening where people would, be coming in who didn't want to be there all day. We had people who'd been there all day. We had vendors and all this stuff. We played in front of a large crowd, and I kind of knew at that time we were lining up this show in Morgantown, which is in a basement. And I was like, so we're going from this to a basement. Not to sound at all negative. I'm super stoked to play a basement show, because basement shows are, as old as time in hardcore. And the basement we're playing actually week before last, the Self-Evident Truth played there, headlined there with a couple other bands. I couldn't make it up for that because it was on a Tuesday, and I live 2 hours south of Morgantown, so I couldn't make it up for that. But yeah, we've got that lined up. We've been writing. We've got, in the last month, we wrote 2 new songs. We actually, yesterday, as of this recording, yesterday was, we had practice, which is probably why I sound a little whatever, but, we finish those two songs. Um, and one of them, which I sent you guys last night as a preview, one of them, I'm really
Thank you.
proud of that one because I I had this idea when I started this band. I mentioned, um, you know, rule number one. I can't remember if I mentioned this on the recorded portion or in the pre-production meeting before, but rule number one of my band is have fun or GTFO. If this stops being fun, we're done. That's it. We're not like replacing this member doing whatever. Rule number two or rule number 1B, and this is something that I really strive for, is I don't want our band to sound like anyone else in the scene. Because I know that hardcore, as much as I like to believe there's no wrong way to do it, it's kind of a mantra for me. Hardcore is, I don't want to say limiting, but all the great ideas have been had, that kind of thing. And so we try to find ways to be unique in this scene specifically. And if you listen to us musically, I like to describe us as 90s hardcore crossed with stoner and sludge metal, and which, because all
Word.
that's like our biggest influences. And lyrical content, you know I can't write about the streets. It's Madball. I can't write about like Madball and stuff like that. 'Cause I'm from in the state of West Virginia. I'm from right here in the middle, literally. I'm from a very rural county, about 45 minutes away from the state capital of Charleston. The hell I know about the streets. So I write about what I know, which is West Virginia. And there's a lot of content you can draw from in West Virginia. And we've got, as far as our originals go, I'm just looking at my notes to remind myself, one, two, three, four. We've got 6 songs technically, and 5 of them are about West Virginia in some fashion. One of them is my anti-current event song, "Fuck Ice." Um, so
Fuck yeah.
there's that. That's on the demo. That song is called "We Ain't the Prisoner Taking Business." It's on the demo. Um, but like the song that I sent you guys yesterday is called "Them That Work," and it is based in part on the events of a town in Mingo County, West Virginia, in the early 1900s by the name of Matewan. John Sayles made a fantastic film about Matewan. Stars some people you may have heard of. It's David Stratham, who has been in a ton of movies. He plays, and that's him right there. He plays Sid Hatfield. Sid Hatfield was the local sheriff down there in Mingo County, or the town cop in Matewan, and he was kind of like this very pro-union cop, which was extremely rare in those days.
Yes.
And the events, of Matewan led, as part of the unionization of the coal mines in southern West Virginia, which led to the United Mine Workers Association, or United Mine Workers of America. If you enjoy having weekends off and 5-day work weeks and all that stuff, thank your local mine union member, because that shit happens because of unions. And there you go. And that all got started really here in West Virginia. And the events of Matewan led to the West Virginia Mine Wars, basically, which ultimately culminated on the Battle of Blair Mountain. And
Not often talked about part of American history, but the U.S. government waged war on miners because they were trying to unionize. But like
yep,
it was as bloody as any military battle. Um, yeah.
I have
I
some. I have
actually,
some.
it's back
What's
here.
up, Adam?
I got some family history of the Battle of Blair Mountain. Actually, I'm glad. I'm glad. That's why I dipped off camera for a second. Um, both sides of my family fought in the Battle of Blair Mountain. On the right side, because it kind of been instilled in my blood. They didn't know each other at the time, but they took out the Pinkerton thugs. They went after the mining bosses. Their little militia. And something that I actually have from it, this is a 38 from the Battle of Blair Mountain that was used. This is
Oh
100%
shit!
original. It's been traced back to it. These now the wooden handles, those are I don't think those are the original ones. They might be. The pearl handles are in the other part. It's unloaded, just so everyone knows. But probably not put it near my face when I do this. But it's unloaded.
Jesus Christ.
It does work. It does work. I still have a box of the wad cutters. I will not fire them, but I have. I'm afraid it'll blow up the pistol. But this was used. We got there's a rifle and a couple knives somewhere else in the house. Weird that I don't know where exactly all the guns are. But this was actually used. It's been historically traced. So I have a piece of West Virginia history in the house. So you said Blair
That's real
Mountain. I was
cool,
like,
dude.
I knew you were getting to it. So I was like, I need to bring this on camera.
That's awesome, dude. That's amazing. But yes, that song, "Them That Work," which is named after, it's a line from the movie Matewan. It's half of a line, but I actually got the idea for that. There's an amazing documentary. It is available. This is the Criterion Collection DVD of the film. And if you've never seen this movie, you absolutely need to. It is not streaming anywhere that I'm aware of, but you can get it out of the Criterion closet. I cannot recommend it to you strongly enough. But there's a great documentary on here called "Them That Work." A friend of mine who was in the communications department with me at my alma mater, Concord College, then now Concord University, down in southern West Virginia, in the town of Athens, a guy by the name of Jason Brown. He did a documentary about the making of Matewan and interviewed pretty much everybody. Uh, uh, John Sayles, the director, Chris Cooper, who plays the main Union guy, Bonnie Prince Billy, if you've ever heard of him as a singer songwriter.
Yeah,
He was a
of course.
kid when this was made. He acts in this movie. There's a
What?
young preacher boy. Bonnie Prince Billy is in this movie as a kid.
That's
Um,
wild.
Bunch of people I went to college with who were kids at the time when this thing was shot in like 1986 because it was released in 87. Bunch of people I went to college with as kids are extras in some of the coal camp scenes in the movie. A couple of them are actually interviewed because there was this guy Colin Worthington who was in the communications department same time as I was, a couple years older than me, but he's interviewed in it. Fantastic documentary, but I named this song technically from that documentary, but it is a part of a double fist, two hander, as they say, where we have this song called "Them That Work," which is about the events leading up to Blair Mountain, and then eventually, it just hasn't been written yet, but eventually we'll have a song that's the kind of companion piece that's about the march on Blair Mountain and the events surrounding that happened at Blair Mountain. And the last thing I'll say on this particular song, this right here. Oh, this is just something I got at like Walmart years ago. I've had it for years. Your standard, you know, red thing.
I
Red,
know
what
what
do you
you're
call it?
doing.
Do rag.
I know what you're
Red
Red
doing.
bandana.
bandana.
What? Yeah, Adam knows. If you have seen footage of us from our first show, if you follow us on Instagram and you see footage of us at practice, and I turn my back to the camera or whatever, you will see this sticking out to varying lengths out of my back pocket. Now, in rock and roll and whatnot, it's not uncommon to see one of these hanging out of people's pockets, usually a blue one, a black one, a white one, sometimes a red one. And I think a lot of people who do that just do it because it looks cool or they want something to grab to wipe the sweat off their brow. And I admit, I use this to wipe the sweat off my brow at practice, and I don't so much use it at shows because I wear an NBA logo headband when I play, so that helps with the sweat. But I very specifically wear this at anything band related because um, back during those days, one of the ways that one of the ways that you were able to identify if someone was with cause was one of you was they had one of these, and it is actually, if I remember the history correctly, this is my interpretation of the history. I may be wrong, but this is how I remember it. The term redneck, you've heard it. I've been called a redneck in my life, and then you got these shitty bro country bands out in the world that have co-opted that term and made it into one thing, and then it's other people in society make it another. The term redneck actually started out as a good thing. It's just been co-opted by a bunch of shitty people over the years. But they were called rednecks because they would wear them like this, or, the other way around. So this is how you identified. So when you see me wearing one of these, it is just a shout out to something I think is a very huge, important part of West Virginia history. I say often that so many of my fellow West Virginians have forgotten the lessons of Blair Mountain. Every time I see some bootlicker running around the state, I think to myself, you've forgotten the lessons of Blair Mountain. You've forgotten the lessons of Sid Hatfield, of Mother Jones, of Bill Buzzard and Ed Chambers and all these guys. And make no mistake, Sid Hatfield survived the Battle of Blair Mountain, but was assassinated by Baldwin Felts, the Baldwin Felts Detective Agency, and some turncoats in that part of the state. He had to go to trial because of the events of Matewan, and he was assassinated on the courthouse steps, shot in the back. And you can still see down in Welch, which is in the great free state of McDowell County, the original courthouse still stands down there. You can actually see outside the courthouse bullet holes in the brick from the gun fight that happened in that ambush. So one of the lines in this new song, if you listen close enough, is Baldwin Felts cowards ambush on the steps. 100% a reference to that.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my history lesson. The other song we've been writing is a song called Mach 1. And shout out to my bass player, Rick Grayson. He wrote the lyrics for this one, and I sat there and tried to play around with him, and I just couldn't crack the code on the cadence. So yesterday on the way to practice, I hit him up on an audio message. Was like, hey, man, I got an idea. I think this song really leans into blah, blah, blah. I was like, I think you should do the vocals. And he told me at practice yesterday after we'd done it a couple times. He's like, man, I'll tell you, I was thinking about it, man. I really want to do these lyrics, but I didn't want to ask. And then you hit me up out of the blues like you were reading my mind. So, I mean, I do a couple things on the song, but he does the main vocals on it, and it sounds great. It's called Mach 1, and it is about a Mount Rushmore West Virginian on the Mount Rushmore with Sid Hatfield for totally different reasons. Of course, I'm talking about Chuck Yeager, the fastest man alive, the first human to ever go faster than the speed of sound. So, but yeah, no, these are all the things that influence my band, because these are all things I know. And West Virginia, for all the stereotypes and jokes and whatever people have outside of the state about the state, got a rich culture of shit and a lot of crazy events
Absolutely.
we can talk about. I mean, like I said, I'm going to get 2 songs out of one event. I've got a song out of Chuck Yeager.
You could get a record out of the Battle of Blair Mountain and all the events leading up to it.
I thought about it. Katherine Johnson. We don't get to the moon if not for Katherine Johnson. Where's she from? Right here in West by God, Virginia. The second greatest professional football player of my lifetime is the same age as me. Grew up 45 minutes away from here. Guy by the name of Randy Moss. The NBA logo. Grew up 15 minutes further down the road from where Randy Moss grew up. Guy by the name of Jerry West. West Virginia has a lot of awesome shit, man. And West Virginia has a rich musical history, both from the past and currently. So it's awesome. It is
Speaking of past West Virginia awesomeness, you shared that we talked about this for a minute, but I want you to give the proper shout out. I do believe a fellow homie started the Corn Zine. Was also did a musical project. I would like for you to tell the audience about that, because I'm on the verge of pre-ordering it once I get all my bills paid.
Absolutely. So that same fellow homie is who did the brought our brand name, our band logo. That's the word I'm looking for. Brought this to life. Did the artwork for me. Yeah. So you hit on it there. Back in the late '90s, or mid to late '90s into early 2000s, there was this amazing. Started out as a paper zine, and then eventually transitioned fully to an online zine. It's called Cornzine, Cornzine, and most random name for a zine, but it was great. It was like that peak of zines, like what you'd expect: band interviews, record reviews, random columns about nonsense. And that was started by a guy by the name of Dana White. No, not that one. Not that one. The good one. Um, Dana, um, Dana and I met each other in the mid '90s when I started going to shows in Charleston, because I didn't start going to shows and getting into heavy music beyond like Metallica until I was 18 years old, which I ended up going to this venue in downtown Charleston. It was a coffee shop by the name of Common Grounds. Can't imagine where I got my band name from. Um, and through going to those shows, I met Dana White. And Dana, over the last 30 years, he's one of my best friends. We were the co-best men at each other's weddings. His marriage turned out way better than mine. Shout out to Brooke. She's awesome. That's Dana's wife, by the way. Not my ex-wife. I was not being sarcastic when I said that. No, Dana and I have known each other a long time. He, back in the mid 90s, had a band called Down to None. They did record like a cassette demo, which I think is somewhere online, like somewhere on a Bandcamp. I want to say a Bandcamp or MediaFire version of that exists. But then in 2000, the year 2000, cue Conan O'Brien, thank you, he started a band called Holden Caulfield. And they released a demo called The Beginning of Forever and Ever, a 5-song EP called The Art of Burning Bridges, and they released a full length called Can't Stop Now, which was released through Surprise Attack Records out of Erie, PA. The Art of Burning Bridges was also through them.
Shout out
And
EMS.
Lake Effect in Full Effect. And then they followed up Can't Stop Now with a sort of companion EP called And Never Will. And what Adam was hinting at, for the first time, that is being made available on vinyl. It's combining those two things into one release called Can't Stop Now and Never Will. Incredibly important hardcore record. I would argue not just in West Virginia, but period. Bias aside, but Outer Orbits Records out of Barboursville, West Virginia, has put that up for pre-order. There's 3 variants of it. One is available, the Outer Orbits variant, and then Outer Orbits actually started as a physical record store called Orbits Records in Barboursville. Fantastic record store. They have a in-store exclusive version that's limited to 50. And then Cough and Curse Records out of Tennessee has a variant as well. So you got 3 variants, and the artwork all ties together. So if you have all 3 variants, like artwork, it's like a puzzle, it goes together.
Oh, that's
Spoiler,
awesome.
spoiler alert, I have all 3 on pre-order, including, the record store version, and there's only 50 of those. But yeah, you can go to Outer Orbits Records and order those, or go to Cough and Curse Records and order their version, and you absolutely should. It's a fantastic record. If you've never heard it, you need to. But yeah, Dana and Holden Caulfield, huge influence on my band. Huge reason my band exists. I said it on stage at our first show. I could thank, there's about 1 billion bands I could thank for inspiring me or influencing me, whether my band sounds like them or not. But for one reason or another, one way or another, not just here in West Virginia, but in general, your Converges, your Most Precious Bloods, your Sick of It Alls, Bludgeon, Kill Whitney Dead, God's Hate, more modern terms. These are all bands that I love and have been a big influence on me. And that's not even touching on the stuff outside of the realm of hardcore and metalcore. The Torch and Sleep and Black Sabbath and Metallica. I could just go on and on. But if I really had to boil it down, this band exists because of 2 bands, and they're both West Virginia bands. One of them is Holden Caulfield. And it doesn't hurt that two of the members of my band were in one of the versions of Holden Caulfield, because for a while there, Holden Caulfield was like the Spinal Tap of hardcore. You'd go to a show and they'd have this lineup, and then the next show they played, they'd have like a new drummer. And then you'd go to the next show and they'd have that drummer but a different guitar player. And then you go, and then eventually by the time they recorded Can't Stop Now, it was a whole new lineup. And I'm probably one of the few people who can say I saw every version of Holden Caulfield, every incarnation, up to and including the proto version that was comprised of Dana and some guys from a band called Out of Nowhere. Like, I was at the first practices that band ever had in Dana's basement in Elkview, West Virginia, Pinch, West Virginia, just outside of Charleston. I was in the basement for those practices, so been on that train a long, long time. But a huge influence on this band existing. And the other band is a band called Malicious Intent, which gets confusing for people outside of West Virginia. There's a band, I think they were out of Boston, that area up in the Northeast somewhere. That, at that era, they were like a thrashy metal band. They were called Malicious Intent. And because of that, briefly, the Malicious Intent that influenced me went by the name All for Nothing. They released a couple of cassettes under the name Malicious Intent, and then they did release one CD in 1998 called Death Pop, which is available on Bandcamp in its as it was intended back then in form. Like, there's some things about it, like, out of the context of 1998 and out of the context of the state of West Virginia, might not make sense to 2026 ears, but that thing exists as a time capsule. And like I said, that band was actually the first band I ever heard that you would call quote unquote hardcore. Like, that was like that was my entry point. That was my gateway. You know, we all have our gateways into this, you know, and from there I go to like Sick of It All and all these other bands. But like, a band from Bridgeport, West Virginia, that just happened to be playing at Common Grounds in September of 1995 when a buddy of mine from my hometown drugged me down there because he'd heard about the venue from somebody he knew. You know, that was 31 years ago this year. It sounds dopey maybe to say, but it's the absolute truth. That one night that I happened to come home from college, because I was in college by that point, that one night I happened to come home and go to this venue changed my life in ways I can't even describe. You know, I mean, discovered a whole genre of music that I never would have probably otherwise heard. I made friends that have been lifelong friends to this day, you know, and I'm sitting here on a podcast talking to a couple of guys, you know, from different parts of the world that I might not otherwise have met or talked to if it weren't for this crazy genre we all love. And it all started for me in a coffee shop in downtown Charleston in September of 1995 because of a band called Malicious Intent.
Hell yeah.
So, but I did have some other thoughts on saying. I know I've been rambling, and when you bring in a former radio guy who talks for a living, I work in sales, and that means I talk a lot. So I do talk for a living, so I can sit here and talk all damn day. But and I get it naturally. It's in my family blood. We're talkers. At least, you know, like me and my dad, my grandfather before me, and all that. So, but I did have, unless you guys had some stuff, you know, anything, questions or any directions you wanted to point me in, you know, I did have some other, you know, I want to make sure, take advantage of this and make sure people know about West Virginia, because we are 100% very slept on, and I want to make sure people know about us. So
I did want to say one thing about West Virginia before you go in. West Virginia, secret home to Bludgeon.
yeah,
Bludgeon, probably like one of the biggest bands to like is in the world of hardcore metalcore. Probably one of the biggest bands to continuously show up to West Virginia. Whenever there was and you and I have talked about this. They would make every opportunity to come up and play, which, you know, like I said, slept on, was not a common thing for bands to stop in West Virginia. And I do believe that you also did a song with them, and I believe that song is online. Is that correct?
I did do a song with them on two separate occasions. They have a song, it's on the Murder Eternal record, called Seconds. And in 2001, which is for people my age, people of that era, people our age, Adam. September 7th, 2001, Bludgeon played here with Caliban and Holden Caulfield, and I want to say Darkness Remains was on that show too. Out of
Sounds
that
right. Sounds about right.
amazing metal band out of Princeton, West Virginia, very Euro metal. It was just a bunch of kids. I think the average age of the band at that time was like 19, but it was a bunch of kids out of Princeton, West Virginia. Amazing band, but they opened and or were supposed to open, and they may have not made it. But I know Holden Caulfield played. Caliban from Germany was on tour with Bludgeon. They played, and Bludgeon headlined, and of course 4 days later, you know. But on this one Saturday night, I mean, it was at the American Legion in downtown Charleston, and Bludgeon has this song on Murder Eternal called Seconds, which is far and away my favorite Bludgeon song. By that point in 2001, they had played here a ton of times. I knew the Collins brothers really well, and I still talk to Justin Collins quite a bit. I just sent him a copy of the song I sent you guys as well. He was raving about it, so that made me feel good. But my big thing with Bludgeon is their bass player Ryan. That's my big tie to Bludgeon. Their bass player Ryan is one of my very good friends. We went to college together. He's originally from Athens, West Virginia, and which is where Concord University is. And we've known each other 28 years. So I mean, I still remember when he left West Virginia and moved to North Carolina, and ended up in Bludgeon when they were in need of a bass player. But so anyway, yeah, Adam's right. They kind of like how West Virginians will lay claim at least halfway to Tyler Childers, because he's like this huge arena selling guy now, right? But this guy got his start playing coffee shops and bars in West Virginia. Like 90% of the shows he played that led him to the stardom he's achieved happened right here in West Virginia. So, we kind of claim him. He's from Eastern Kentucky, but we kind of claim him. Bludgeon, similar thing. Huge band, North Carolina. Played here so often that, like, never mind the West Virginia connection with Ryan being part of the band. Played here so often that, hell, they might as well have been a West Virginia band, But yeah, that 2001 show, I got up and I did seconds with them. And there is a picture that exists, a couple pictures that exist of that, but no video. And then in 2021, yeah, so it was 20 years later, when Furnace Fest came back, after it was supposed to come back in 2020, something happened in 2020 that caused it to be shut down. For the life of me, can't remember. Oh, that's right, the damn near world-ending viral apocalypse. That's right. So they postponed
I think I remember that.
Yeah, vaguely. They postponed that to 2021, and Bludgeon had been announced. Stretch Armstrong and all these amazing bands. I think, was it Converge played that? Like all these amazing bands playing Furnace Fest. And there was my boys Bludgeon, who had not played a show, had been on hiatus for damn near 20 years, making a comeback. And I was like so stoked and like trying to figure out, could I get to Birmingham, Alabama and make this work and go to this show? And I wasn't at that time in my life financially or whatever. I wasn't able to really make it work. And then out of the blue, maybe, that was in September of 21. I think it was in mid-August-ish, somewhere in August. It was announced like a couple months prior that they would be playing a warm-up show in Wytheville, Virginia, which is about 2.5 hours south of me. And it was this all-day festival at this place that used to be in Wytheville. It was an old family adventure center that had like go-karts and shit like that, and it had been turned into like a haunted house, a spooky thing. I can't remember what it was called. Helheim. It was called Helheim. And the guy who ran that was this guy named Carter, and Carter just so happened to be one of the guitar players in Bludgeon. So he had this festival, it was all this like heavy music, deathcore stuff, whatever. And Bludgeon wanted to do a warm-up before Furnace Fest. So they played that and headlined it. and I actually interviewed them for a podcast I was doing at the time. We sat down in Carter's office there at Helheim, and I interviewed the guys. And you know, Justin Collins, the drummer, asked me that day, like, or in advance of, he's like, "Do you want to do seconds with us? Because we are playing it." And I was like, "Fuck yeah, dude! You know it." And there is video of that does exist. It's out there. And I I introduced them from the stage that night. And what sucks is I wasn't in a band then, so I didn't have the reps of like my throat being like prepped to be able to show up and sing like that. So it was the fifth song in the set, and I did the introduction, and I almost blew my voice out in the introduction. And then
Oof.
I stood off to the side and sang along for the first four songs. And by the time I got up there to do the stage, to do the show, to do the song rather, my voice was like, really, you think I'm cracking bad now? So I would love to get a chance to do that again. But yeah, no, Bludgeon, very important band to me. Great dudes, fantastic band. And yeah, Adam's absolutely right. They're a huge band. And, but to me, they're just, it's my boys in Bludgeon, you know?
Yeah. Hey, I just want to cut in here. Um we had talked about doing a game later. We
Mm-hmm.
are 90 minutes into this, and I'm planning on hanging out with a friend of mine later. I think it might be good if we just keep this episode like West Virginia centric, and we can always come back and do more things, with you.
Sure, sure.
You know what I mean? But it'd be nice
Yeah.
to just like keep this focused and like, yeah, I love hearing about West Virginia hardcore. It's cool. So,
Yeah.
um,
No, Adam got me off on that sidebar there though. But I mean, but he's right though because they are practically a West Virginia band, and a band like Clutch, not necessarily a hardcore band. A lot of hardcore love, a lot of hardcore adjacent love, including myself. And they're from Maryland,
mhm.
you know,
Harper's Ferry. Harper's Ferry to be exact.
which is in West Virginia. But they've got same thing. We claimed them as one of ours, but they're from Maryland, you know. But no, West Virginia. So if you look back, obviously I've referenced a couple of them from days gone by. Malicious Intent, Holden Caulfield, Down the Nun. But you look at a hardcore adjacent band like Lincoln. Lincoln is in that think Washington D.C. Fugazi style music, right? So adjacent. Lincoln influenced Converge on the was it Long Road Home DVD. There's actually VHS footage of them somewhere in Nebraska, ironically enough, covering a song called Benchwarmer by Lincoln. And Lincoln's
Oh,
from
that's cool.
Morgantown, West Virginia.
Yep.
Another
I did
do what
not get
that?
to see I did not get to see Lincoln growing up. Even I think I was either in Beckley or I moved to North Carolina, but I knew of Lincoln when I came back to college, and they were like the band. Lincoln,
Mm-hmm.
to add scope, they were the band that if they had broken, they would have been bigger or at least on par with Quicksand. They were that important. Temporary Residence Limited uh, put out their entire discography on vinyl. I don't know if it's sold out or not. Uh, Coming back to Morgantown, finding out about a lot of this stuff, having been away for a long time. Because again, the years between us specifically, it's not that big of a stretch, and we got to see a lot of cool stuff in our eras. But Lincoln did. I think you were trying to get me to come up for this. Same for the 304 Recon show, to come up to Morgantown to see them play, and I was not able to do it, but I wanted to. Lincoln is a big deal, and I just wanted to interject like how big, how the fervor for them was like at the drive-in style fervor. Who's going to sign them to the next level? And they broke up, unfortunately, maybe for the better, so they would not end up hating what they were doing.
Yeah.
But they were. Listen, if you like Lincoln, if you like Quicksand, you need to go buy this Lincoln record. Just you need to check it out.
1,000%. I actually do have that record. I'm sure you're sorry. I actually have the original 7 inch. I have a couple Lincoln 7 inches.
The Hoover split
Thanks.
and the other.
Yeah, I got them both. Thanks to the old Vinyl Collective message boards for that one. That's how I managed to get my hands on those. Um, but yeah, Lincoln. They are to West Virginia what he mentioned at the drive-in, but they are to West Virginia. I think what Title Fight is to certain parts of PA and certain parts of the world at large now because they're having this whole resurgence that they were having even before Haywire started covering Shed, but which really blew it up from there. But another Morgantown band that I know Adam knows, Law Abiding Citizens. Shout out to Jeff Godwin. Love that band. Think skater punk type stuff, skater punk hardcore. Very good, very awesome stuff. Another Morgantown band, not maybe very hardcore adjacent, but very huge here, very important here. Karma to Burn. Um,
Yes, dude. Yes.
Instrumental metal. I saw them open for Metallica actually once in 2000, summer 2000 in Lexington, Kentucky. And of course, before we get into like the more current West Virginia bands, I'll do a quick rundown and series of shout outs on. You can't not mention it, even though now they're a Pennsylvania band and don't claim West Virginia in any way, shape, or form. But for about 4 records, they were 1,000% a West Virginia band, founded and started in Parkersburg, West Virginia. And you've probably heard of them, band called Zayo. Liberate TX and Ferris, recorded by West Virginians. Where Blood and Fire Bring Rest, recorded by West Virginians. Never forget, Zayo, Mount Rushmore, West Virginia heavy music band, even though now they claim themselves to be a Pittsburgh band.
It's an hour away. It's fine.
Zayo is the reason that Adam, like, this show exists.
Yeah.
I did Adam and I did like a 2 hour long deep dive on the Zayo discography.
Mm-hmm.
And Zayo is also the reason I got into hardcore at all.
Well, there you go.
They were the first hardcore band that I got into.
Yeah, man.
I got to see them a few months ago. They headlined a small little bar here in Philly.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Yeah, they don't get me wrong. I like current Zayo. I'm not saying anything negative about Zayo at all. I'm just like really particular about and protective of West Virginia, and I don't like whitewashing out the fact that Zayo started as a West Virginia band. So
yeah, not it. Zayo is one of those like talk about revolving door lineups. Like there are no original members left in Zayo.
None. No.
But and like those early recordings, they recently put them out, but like a friend of mine sent me one of those tracks and I just kind of listened to it blind, and he was like, this is the first Zayo stuff, and I was like, this sounds nothing like them.
No, that first Zayo record, it's like heavy, it's whatever, but dudes literally stops at one point, instead of like a mosh call into a breakdown, he preaches a literal sermon.
Yep.
And it's like, so I think Zayo very, I understand why they got labeled as Christian metal because of that, but that quickly changed.
Yeah. They were Christian-ish for a bit with Dan on vocals, but like he very quickly lost his faith, and it very quickly had nothing really to do with that. But yeah.
Fun Dan fact. He used to tattoo. He still may, for all I know.
He does.
Still be
yeah, he tattoo. He has a private studio in like around Mechanicsburg.
He worked at a place called Animus Tattoo for a very long time, and he has done a very large portion of my leg tattoos. So he did a very wonderful job. But he another connection.
That's awesome.
He tattooed a bunch of my stuff on my legs. Some of it's all family related, and there is most precious blood lyrics involved. Love is stronger than death has my grandparents on both sides and a banner down the front of my leg. and I'm very happy that like he one was able to do it. Two, this is around the time Funeral of God uh, era came out. Is it right before, right after? And I was very thankful that I got to hang out with him in his apartment above the tattoo studio a couple times. My homie Jonathan, shout out Jonathan Polly. I'll send him this episode, and he'll fucking geek out over it. We had a blast. But he Dan did a bunch of my tattoos that are also hardcore related. So I just wanted to boost him up real quick.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that Most Precious Blood tattoo. I've kicked around an idea based on the same song. Because it's the Lantern, my favorite Most Precious Blood song. I've kicked around a tattoo idea that involves a Grim Reaper holding a lantern over his head, and for all my fallen homies. So, small world.
It's cool. Um, so I need to get going relatively soon, but I want you to shout out um like current bands.
Yeah,
Please.
yeah, absolutely. So, one last quick Zayo point. What blew
Please.
my mind: the original bass player from Zayo follows my band on Instagram, and when I realized that, I was like sitting there at the flicking the phone, like, "Holy shit!" Because Zayo is a big reason this band exists. All right, so yeah, West Virginia hardcore. Listen, Joe Hardcore played here last year. Shadow Realm played here. Joe Hardcore said it on Instagram. Joe Hardcore said it. If you're sleeping on West Virginia, you're fucking up. And there's a reason for that. Just in the last year, Haywire's played here 3 times. Shadow Realm has played here. Ag Front's played here. No Cure's played here. No Cure's playing here on Tuesday. Naysayers playing here. Risk and Cold Hard Steel played here. And that's just a small sampling of what I could think of off the top of my head, and I wrote it down before the show. But as far as current West Virginia hardcore, hardcore adjacent, and not at all hardcore, but things you need to check out. So Vile Mind, that's the one I think most people know right now. They've kind of like low key blown up. I've known all those guys since they were like 13 years old. They're really good if you like tough guy hardcore stuff. Really really good. Violent Convictions, another kind of heavy. They're about to release a full length. They do an amazing Sepultura cover as well. But shout out to Tom Martin, who's the vocalist for Violent Convictions. He books a ton of these shows under his Remain Convicted promo banner. And shout out to the Vile Mind guys for the Huntington Music Collective. They book a lot of the shows in Huntington and do real good work there. Shout out to Bad Terms. They've been around the scene for like a decade. They're really, really good. False Sense comes to mind as well. Truth is Treason just recently got started. I've known most of the guys in that band for 25 years. Shout out to John Gallimore, the bass player. He's a Concord alum as well. Alomon, I hope I'm saying the band name right. But they're more like a power violence band. But I think the average age of that band is 18 or 19. Definitely check them out. Vilomah. Also, shout out to Ghost in Me. As far as like hardcore adjacent, Torches from Above. Yeah, we talked about Lincoln earlier. They're a band that's in that kind of vein, that title fight Lincoln, at the drive-in, that type of stuff. Definitely check them out. Emma Lee, A Deal in the Hot Mess. Do you like Paramore? You'll love this band. Jerks. Shout out to Casey Shingleton. Jerks is just kind of poppy punk, but they live up to the name on stage. It's not a gimmick. Well, it is a gimmick, but it's not a gimmick. And also shout out to Golden, another pop punk band from around here. Their vocalist, Greg McGowan, I've known for damn near 30 years. Great dude. He's actually the guy who recorded our demo at his studio in Charleston, Rose City Recordings. And I'll leave you with 3 more quick ones. Totally not hardcore adjacent at all. I want to shout out Hello June. Sarah Rudy, who has ties to Philly, by the way. Hello June is an amazing indie rock band. They are just spectacular, and Sarah Rudy has the voice of an angel and is just an amazing human being. I love her to death. Matt Mullins and the Bring Downs. Y'alternative. If you like drive-by truckers and that kind of shit, check out Matt Mullins.
Y'alternative.
Yep.
Y'alternative. That's great.
And last 2, the Dinosaur Burps. They are intergalactic hip hop. Is the best way I can describe it. Be Rude. Brian, his last name really is Rude. That's his shoot last name. Be Rude is an amazing vocalist, and he started out with a guy by the name of Mule. And rest in peace, Sam. Mule is the greatest rapper this state has ever produced. And Adam, you mentioned 304 Recons earlier. Of course, 6'6" is good. Paycheck Game is the man. You ask Paycheck Game who's the best rapper to ever come out of the state of West Virginia, he'll tell you it's Mule, and it's not even close. Mule would have been huge if he would have not passed away. But P. Rude was doing stuff with him. Dinosaur Burps happened. Intergalactic hip hop, simplest explanation I can give you. They do an amazing Jerry Reed cover, Amos Moses. And the last one I want to shout out, not that she needs the publicity because she's huge right now. She's won 4 Grammys, but I remember her when she was in a band called 600 Pounds of Sin. I remember her when she was playing shows with that band at the Empty Glass in Charleston. I want to shout out Sierra Farrell. If Janis Joplin, Dolly Parton, and Loretta Lynn had a love child, it would by God be Sierra Farrell. She is an amazing performer, amazingly talented performer. And if you're into that kind of stuff and you're not listening to Sierra Farrell, I don't know what to tell you because she's friggin' amazing. And she is from West by God, Virginia originally. So
hell yeah. Josh, thank you so much for coming on. We'll need to have you on more. You know, we've talked a lot about having just a revolving third chair on this thing, and
We're looking for a third.
So it's a polyamorous podcast. All right, cool.
Look, I'm from I live in West Philadelphia. It gets fucking weird out here.
Sure. Well, you guys know what I was dealing with last night, where I was, and so that's kind of what it's like here. So we'll leave it at that. Say it ain't
Hell
so.
Yeah. Hey, at least you didn't have to sit through a cover of WAP on Uke.
Yeah, okay, fair.
All right, I don't even know what that is, but I would agree.
It was the song that got Ben Shapiro all hot and bothered because he doesn't understand how pussies work.
I don't claim him as part of our people.
He's not part of the tribe. Is that what you're saying?
No,
he is, but he isn't.
No, he's not part of the 12 tribes. No, he's part of the Timu tribe of our people, as far as I'm concerned.
Copy that.
But yeah.
But no, I would say thank you guys for having me on. I know I probably rambled a lot and talked a lot of, but man, like I say, I could talk. I mean, I literally wrote it down. Those are the notes I wrote about West Virginia in about 5 minutes of during pre-pro. So, so that's just off the top of my head without really any thought. So thank you guys for having me on.
I appreciate it so much. It's, one of the things that one of the stated goals of this show was to shine light on stuff that doesn't necessarily get talked about. And, I think West Virginia is definitely one of those places in a lot of ways. It's unfortunate. But yeah, thank you so much for coming by. We'll have to have you on again soon. Yeah.
Thank you.
I got a promo idea for you.
Oh, okay. Go before I do promo, please go on.
And for your promo, pepperoni rolls. Branded pepperoni rolls.
Good idea. And fun fact, Remain Convicted Promotions, every time they book an out-of-town band at a venue in Charleston called The Shop, they bring in pepperoni rolls for the green room. Joe Hardcore and Austin from Haywire and all these people have talked about the West Virginia pepperoni rolls. They're homemade pepperoni rolls that they have in the green room at all these touring shows. So we know how to take care of things here. But no, branded pepperoni rolls. I like that idea. Put the Mothman eyes on them. God, we didn't even talk about Mothman today. So, yeah, no, promo never stops. The band is Common Ground 304, and you can find us on all socials under that name. If you look for us on Bandcamp, Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube Music, Amazon. Search for Common Ground 304. It's kind of like a haywire thing. We promote ourselves as Common Ground, but we got to use the 304 for those reasons. So check us out. Follow us on Instagram. That's where we're most active on social media. A little bit on TikTok, but yeah, name's the same across them all. And what was that? Yeah, give us a follow, check us out, and just keep in mind I'm 49 years old and I smoke a lot of cigarettes, so I can't sound like the vocalist from Zayo, no matter how much he might influence me. So I got to work with what I got here. So there we go.
Hell yeah. Anything else before we wrap things up?
I'll be stoked to do the game. We'll do the game with Josh in the near future. Don't forget about local ska band Ook from Morgantown. I want to give those boys a quick shout out. And there are a couple other bands we'll talk about when we get you back on. But no, this was a lot of fun, longer than expected, and a lot of history. So people understand when I talk about West Virginia as passionately as I do. Josh did the same thing, so you understand like where we really do come from. So if you learn something historically about my home state and Josh's home state, I'm glad we were able to educate a little bit, like we end every show. Glad I know you. Glad you're here. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I love you.
Love you. All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.